Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quinten Krzysko, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce, bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
Well, boys, it is 11:45 p.m. on a Monday night in the East Coast. Excuse me. I'm on the East Coast, and I have to be at work in 8 hours, and I don't think I'm going to get a wink of sleep tonight because I am wired after that victory. My name is Quinten Krzysko. We are Bears on Tap. I am joined by Ron Luce and Sonny Verma. Starting with Sonny. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this evening?
I mean, just you're talking about, I put it in my name right there, right? Like that's a game that we lose, I feel like, for the majority of my life. And it's one of those games where you just, could it be different? Could it be different? Could it be different this time around? And sure enough, that the ball goes through the uprights. I mean, how nervous was each and every one of us? I literally was saying in my group chat, please get 6 here. Get 6 here. Don't leave it up to Moody. I'm not feeling good about it. But you know what? The culture is different now. And I think today, this game in particular, you had a team that where almost everything was going against you, whether it's officiating, just the ball bouncing the wrong way. In a lot of sort of ways, you had just a demoralizing feeling. And then to prevail at the end like that, what a game.
What a game indeed, Sonny. And Mr. Feeney here in the comments says it correctly. A Bears and a Blackhawks win tomorrow should be a holiday. And you know what, guys? I'm on double duty tonight, but that's okay. I got enough adrenaline pumping through my veins to stay up, Q, to your point, probably all night long. And I'm pulling double duty. Everybody else is going to be up late. That's why we encourage everybody for likes, subscriptions to this On Tap Sports Net channel, because you can see all of our great content. You can be here right with us right now, just like Mr. Feeney in the comment section, because guys, I'm fired up. And I'll tell you what, we were talking a little bit before the show, and the Bears are for real. They're a team that can prevail through the adversity, as you noted, Sonny, right? Everything in this game was set to go wrong, including like the broadcast loved the Commanders and was circle jerking their names all night long.
Oh my God.
The betting odds, the weather was terrible. So everybody's like, oh, this is gonna be, the fail Mary, and the Commanders are the big hell. The Commanders even wear the same uniforms as that game last season just to spit in the Bears' face. And you know what they said? They said, fuck you, we're not the Bears of old. And they prevailed. It wasn't pretty, but guess what? When winning's hard like it is in the NFL, it doesn't have to be pretty. They ask how many and not how you get it done. Man, this is a good feeling. I'm having fun, guys. I'm ready to talk about even more of this game.
They came back from that commercial break, and I was like, oh, what's this? Like, really high def, like different NFL view. And then I'm like, oh, this is the fail Mary. Oh, great timing. Thank you, ESPN. That's so nice of you. In the middle of the fourth quarter, right after something bad happened for the Bears, they come back from the commercial break with that. I'm glad it could be thrown back in their face like that the Bears win this game. And like, man, I didn't think it would happen, frankly. I was sitting there going, it's Jake Moody. Like, he already had one block because he kicked it like a foot over the blockers. Right. Like, we cannot let this game come down to Jake Moody's leg. And when Ben, I want your guys' thoughts. When Ben Johnson took the first of his final 2 timeouts and it started to become apparent that they were playing for the kick, what went through your brains?
I hated it. Again, for me, it was like, I get not wanting to be too cute. Also, I did have that feeling. I'm like, Ben, you saw what just happened literally with Jaden Daniels. By the way, I feel sorry for him. Like, losing, he's got to feel that was a gut punch on his end. But for Ben, it's like, don't try something too cute, but don't be too conservative either. Because I 100% felt like we needed the 6 there because I didn't trust the leg. But I don't know, Ron, what do you think?
I was sitting there. I think I sang a couple Ave Marias, maybe a few Hail Marys as well. And I'll tell you what, I just sat back and said, okay, here we go. Maybe this will be different. Who knows what's going to happen here? It was nerve wracking, but when it goes the right way, it's okay. Oh, and also, I think the football gods had a sense of humor. I felt it in my soul. We got a doink out of Matt Gay tonight. I think that was the subtle little whisper from the football gods saying, "Stay till the end. You'll like the outcome." This is
You know,
my little reminder to you.
Ron, I couldn't help but think. Do you remember? Because Q was out for last year's game against the Commanders, and as soon as that game ended and the Hail Mary happened, you and I were literally just texting back and forth. We're like, "There's no script. Should we just go on live and just keep drinking alcohol and just complain for
Just keep going.
45 minutes?" That's all. We were just like, this is the worst gut punch, and it had the potential to be that right here. And so that's why just to see that turnaround is kind of just, hopefully a signal of, hey, things are turning around. And, finally, it might be time to, as one of you mentioned earlier, watch these games through the end, even when it looks like things are going against you each and every angle. These Bears are finding a way.
Finding a way to win. And that's something, we haven't, 2018. It's maybe the last time we saw a team that found ways to win. And even then, it was like outside of a few games, it was like they just kind of dominated all throughout the season. But for them to see this team fighting, to see them progressing week to week, like Ron, I am so excited to watch the O-line tape from this game because they have not
Me
run
too,
blocked
dude.
like that all season long. And that's not just O-line. I tweeted this out during the game. I think at halftime. It's not just O-line. There are 9 to 10 guys on any given run who are in the blocking scheme, and they need to be doing their jobs. And tonight, Romo Dunze had me pumped for one of his blocks. I was just like, holy shit, look at Romo. It was the Cole Kmet first down that got called back. Romo Dunze was holding up an edge rusher to keep Caleb clean there. And it was just like, that is team football right there. That is how you block. That wasn't even run blocking necessarily, but it's that they did such a nice job. There was on the Caleb touchdown run, DeAndre Swift was clearing the way as a lead blocker. That's why I said 10 guys, not 9, because when on that run, Caleb was the ball carrier. DeAndre Swift was the 10th blocker. So there's a lot that is just really exciting to see clicking for this offense.
Yeah, and Q, just to build off of your point there, I think you're starting to see this more and more in the NFL, and I think it's bleeding into the other ranks too. If you want to be a good football team and being able to run the football in today's day and age with the athletes that play defense, with the intricacy of concepts that are used on the defensive side of the football, you need to get 9 and 10 guys involved in every single play as blockers. And this is why Ben Johnson came in with the motto. Bears fans that are out there that didn't watch a lot of Detroit football, this is it. Because you see what happens when you block. A, you get the rock, and B, the whole team does better when everybody's blocking. You mentioned Rome's blocks. There was what, 2 times in this game that Darnell Wright took 2 people out of a play because he's the lead puller on an outside stretch run. Holy shit, man. Beauty. Team blocking is art when it works beautifully. And you had a couple of them on that last drive too. And Swift cutting through. I said something bad about him tonight because I thought on that first screen that he took, he could have bounced it outside because Jackson was trying to set up a wall for him and he went inside. And I was like, oh, DeAndre, what are we doing, man? But this was a little bit of a DeAndre Swift legacy game of sorts too, gentlemen. I mean, he stepped up when this team needed it, but the team blocking helped carry the way. You can get through the mud when all 10 guys outside the quarterback are bought in on blocking for whoever has the football.
Yeah, and so it makes me think of this story. There's this clip out there of Mark Schlereth talking about like teams buying into the run and the blocking schemes. And he starts talking about like this coach came to him and asked him a question. An NFL head coach came to him and said, like, why can't we figure out our run blocking, right? Like, why, like, how do we fix this? And Schlereth looked at him and just said, you have to want to run the ball. And the guy said, yeah, we do want to run the football. Like, I want to run the football. He's like, do you? Are you sure you want to run the football? Because everything I see says that you don't want to run the football. That guy was Matt Nagy. So to me, I look at what they fixed in the bye week. And gentlemen, I've been thinking about this since the bye week started. A lot of times when teams win on a bye week, they give the team the first week of that off, right? Like that's normal, right? I'm not making that up. Bears didn't do that, I don't think. From what I saw.
I think they still had a fair majority of the days off, but I think they were back in the building by like Friday or Saturday.
Okay, because my whole point of that story is they went to work on this run game over the bye. They said, we are going to get this right one way or another. We are going to come out in week 6 and we are going to run the football the way the football is supposed to be run. And the whole point of that story with Mark Schlereth is they want to run the football and they're going to run the football. And we saw that tonight. We saw them against a run defense that was pretty solid so far this year. That, Washington's run defense, they're not like a stalwart, but they were top 10 in a lot of run defense metrics. They ran the football on them, and that is what's the most exciting to me, because that is the starting point for any offense in my mind, is being able to run that football.
Well, Q, you and I talked about 2 weeks ago and during that post game how we felt we wanted the Bears to prepare for this bye week, and how for us it was going to be an evaluation on Ben Johnson and what kind of coach he is. You want to have a guy in charge who, moving forward, like, oh, you give Ben Johnson 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, you're in pretty good shape. And I think at least today, they passed with flying colors. You can tell, as you said, as soon as that bye week hit, they really didn't take any time off. Maybe the players took a couple of days off, but those coaches, they knew, they identified the problem, and they did their best to fix that problem. And when it comes to execution today, I think we saw that hard work really paid off the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't be more excited for it. But gentlemen, do you have anything else to add before we get to our first segment here?
I do, just really quick. I know this is a win and we're celebrating, but can I quickly bitch about the officiating?
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. And I'll tell you what, like, I'm willing to give referees the benefit of the doubt when it's like high motion plays, right? Like a DB and a receiver hand fighting, and like it looks like he gets him in the face and you throw it. Okay, shit happens. You're human. I understand that. The illegal formation on Theo Benedict was the softest baby shit call that I have seen in the NFL all season. Because I'll tell you why. There's a reason this is never called, because the officials will tell the offensive line if they're too far in the back. So what this tells me is either A, Theo Benedict just didn't listen and maybe they wanted to stick it to him, or B, they never gave that heads up. That's consistently something officials deal with, are constantly informing teams. And another one, when DJ Moore was offsides, they literally check with the official. Am I good?
Mm-hmm.
And the linesman was supposed to tell him yes or no.
Right.
There's a reason that never gets fucking called. It's so bad. Like, this is not good.
I just got an image in my head of DJ Moore going up to the line and looking at the ref going, am I good? And the ref goes, I don't know. Then the play
starts. And then he throws the flag at him.
Like,
fuck you, dude. I think it's just this is a problem that I come back to with the league. And this is an NFL problem. This isn't the officials' problem. This is the league. Because you pay these players and these coaches and all these people that are full-time, millions of dollars a year, to be a part of your product. You know what else is a part of your product? The fucking officials. Yet these are guys that work their 9-to-5 jobs Monday through Friday. Probably as some fucking, senior manager at KPMG or something. And then they jump on a plane on the weekend and come call these games. Like they're stipend per game. I mean, every player gets paid per game, but still, if you want to fix your officiating problem, you make these guys full time. I'm sure every single one of these guys would take like $100,000 a year to be full time, and it's going to look like a blip, not even a blip on your radar from a P&L perspective. That way, you can have them in the building all week long. They can watch film, just like football players do.
Well, Ron, do you know how much they make now?
No idea.
They average $205,000 a year.
Oh,
as part-time employees, because you're right, a ton of attorneys, a ton of auditors, like people who are good with rules.
Yeah, just make them full-time and pay them double, and you're still not a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
If you want this to get better, these guys can't focus on their craft. You want football players to do that. You wouldn't play Joe Blow that does your fucking plumbing to come play center for you on Sunday. It's the same method. Fix it. Make them full-time. Make them sit in a room a couple days out of the week. There's a headquarters, or they can get on Zoom calls, whatever. It's fucking 2025. And watch film, and they talk through missed calls, and they say other officials in the league, make sure we understand that when this happens, we need to do this. You know what that does? It makes the product better. You know what happens when the product's better? You probably make more money, NFL. Fix it. Because this was embarrassing. I saw college officials at low levels of football over the weekend that were magically somehow better than these guys, and they were pitiful. Fix it. The only reason I'm not more mad is because the Bears won, frankly. But I was ready. I was ready to come on here and just every terrible word in the book that could be said would be said, but I'll dial it back a hair. But there's still a problem. It needs to be addressed. And good on the Bears to battle through it. But for both sides, bad. It was a bad game for these officials.
Yeah, for me, it's like as soon as the game was over, I wasn't screaming because I was celebrating. I feel like I was screaming because I thought it was, again, I'm not the type who thinks the games or sports are fixed or anything like that. But for me, it was just more of a, take that sort of thing. Like, you tried to put everything against us and still the Bears team prevailed. It was more like an angry, emphatic yes than it was just celebratory. All because of what you said. It just seemed like everything was going wrong, and calls that I've never seen called before were being called against the Chicago Bears today. And then still, after all that, to prevail. Go Bears.
Well, and I think we talked in the preview show that this was one of the newest ref crews, and they're like, they have one of the highest penalty rates of any crew in the NFL right now. And
brutal.
I didn't think that meant that they would be the most like volatile crew as well, which I thought that just meant they were more like on top of every little thing, more than like there were phantom calls out there. And like we can run through like the Colson Loveland like OPI. I was actually kind of okay with, because he sent that dude, like, I don't think he did a lot, but he still sent that cornerback flying 5 yards because he's big tight end and that small cornerback. Like, so I at least understood that one, right? But then the face mask on Nashawn Wright, that didn't happen. I just perplexed as to why that gets called. Then what else was there? There was the low hit on the QB on Brisker. I understand that. I think it's the worst rule in football, but I understand, like, he did hit him low. Did he get pushed in the back by Laramie Tunsil? Yes, but that does not matter for the rule, apparently. So, like, the rule is the rule. That sucks. But then, what was the final, like the final big one that felt like, the one that called back the touchdown that Ron, you touched on.
Oh yeah, already. The illegal formation was atrocious. That one was the worst by far.
Yeah, and then there was another one down the stretch there that felt like I did not agree with. So there were at least 3 where I felt like they were phantom, but at least what did make me feel a little better is Washington had 1 or 2 phantom ones called on them too, which is like, okay, well at least it's going both ways then. But I don't think theirs were. Is it like the calling back the touchdown was just brutal. Like that felt like that was going to be the game right there. And then it was like, okay, this just got so much harder for the Bears, but they pulled it off. So
It was such a good catch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm more upset that we just got robbed of a really good highlight than the points. Like, I think as a football fan, like there's other fans around the league that want to see that catch on their highlight reel. And now they can't because of one of the worst penalties I've seen called in the NFL, maybe ever.
There were thousands of people relying on that Romo Dunze touchdown to win fantasy this week. That didn't
Facts. There was a lot of money lost on that catch not being a catch.
I had a Romo Dunze anytime touchdown prop. I lost money on it.
See, I told you.
But anyways, let's go ahead and get to our first segment here.
The baddest man.
All right, we are talking about the baddest man on the Chicago Bears tonight, and we'll start this off with Sonny. Sonny, who is your baddest man for the Bears tonight?
I have to give it to the guy who I think had his best game as a Chicago Bear, and that's DeAndre Swift. Without that run at the end of the game to really, I wouldn't say clinch it, but at least to make me breathe a little bit easier. Look, Swift, it gets a lot of flack, and a lot of it's deserved from this fan base, me included, hand up. But today, he just looked extra fast, and he really looked like he was just gliding through in ways that I haven't seen him before. And, again, whether it's the blocking, which we'll find out when you guys watch the all 22s later on this week, we got to just tip our hat off to DeAndre, because he's the guy who, again, everyone is dogging on, but he's still giving his best effort each and every week. And we don't win this game without DeAndre Swift.
I like it. I agree. I mean, that has to be the first guy I mentioned. What was the total he had? I think it was 108 rushing yards on 14 carries, so almost 8 yards a carry, plus another 67 yards on 2 catches. So was that 175 yards on 16 touches? That's it. That's a day at the office right there. That's a real nice day at the office. Ron, where are you going for your baddest man?
I will just quickly second Sonny, because I agree. There should not be a single person listed above DeAndre Swift in this game, in my opinion. I'm gonna call our baddest man though. He continues to make gold out of shit, it feels like at times. But like Dennis Allen and this defense are just so opportunistically scrappy that it's unbelievable, because they really are infuriating at times. It's a lot of bend and bend a little more and bend a little more, and then pull a turnover out of your ass and make it go the other way. And then they'll bend a little bit again and bend. They'll break every once in a while. Shit happens, and it's usually big plays. Cute. We talked about that on the show way back in what was that, July? It might have even been earlier than that this summer. And yet they still just are opportunistically scrappy. You get some luck. You had to have some luck with the Daniels fumble, but they were able to weather the storm in the first half, right? Especially when they're at home and they got that home field advantage. You weather that storm with the Brisker interception. You weather that storm with Montez Sweat punching the football out from Krosky Merritt. And maybe they didn't get touchdowns, which, by the way, the analysts were dogging the Bears for God forbid you couldn't score 7, but you got 3 at least in a game that was pissing. I think a lot of people forgot this game was raining until Daniels fumbled. And everybody was like, oh yeah, there's weather. That's such a weird concept to consider. But I'll tell you what, man, they continue to get it done. And it was like they give up a chunk play and you're like, oh, shit. And then they get that big negative play when they needed it. Right. And they were so just present and fought to the end. And I think that's a tip to Dennis Allen and company. So that's a bad dude. And tonight, it was a bad crew.
Yeah, no, it was Man, I'm glad you went with Dennis Allen there because I was like, I kind of want to go Jaquan Brisker. I kind of want to go Kyler Gordon. So I think we saw Brisker do a lot of different stuff tonight than we've ever seen from him.
And I think Kyler being back helps a lot with that too. I think we're starting to see some of those new elements of how Kyler Gordon fits in this defense too.
Yeah, like so we saw him manned up on the line of scrimmage, pressed up on tight ends, right? Like consistently, he was their tight end man coverage guy, and that's never been a Brisker thing. And like you said, Gordon being back allowed them to do a lot of that stuff because Gordon's like a third safety out there for them now. They trust him to play a safety role when needed, which allows them to rotate guys. Like I don't think the interception happens without Gordon being out there that Brisker gets in the first quarter. I don't think, and a lot of this comes out of Dennis Allen. He was throwing a lot of unscoured looks at them on the back end, which had Jalen Daniels kind of really confused the whole first half as to what he was seeing because it didn't match what he put on his VR headset when he's doing his tape study. Like which, as we all know, ad nauseum, people talk about the VR use with Jalen Daniels, but so Dennis Allen is an outstanding pick, and I love that pick because I think that encompasses it all, how it all, like the secondary as a whole kind of came together today with Gordon being back out there and Brisker playing such a different role than we've ever seen from him. But I also love it because it allows me to follow my heart. And my heart says,
do it.
The baddest man on that field is Darnell Wright. The final run for DeAndre Swift, where Wright is watching the back door, just gets a hand in the defensive end, completely gets him out of the play, though, just a little push, and then turns around and gets a nice little slight hold on the guy, and let's go. And that's all Swift needed. He's home free, and that was beautiful. There were multiple plays like that from Darnell Wright, and just, man, this felt like, and I need to go to the tape to find this out, but it felt like one of the cleanest run blocking performances we've ever seen from Darnell, which is really exciting. I'm not worried about his pass protection. The elbow might cost him some in pass pro right now, but long term, like his pass protection is great. I'm not concerned about that. It's the run blocking discipline and like the tenacity is always there. It's the discipline. It's the caring about the details in run blocking that tends to cost him. And if he's run blocking the way that he did tonight, like we're talking a star offensive tackle, which is really exciting for me.
100%. I'm glad you said that, Q, because my heart was lying there too. And I said, you know what? I got to save this one for Q because I know he's going there. I know it's going to happen. So I'm glad we were able to orchestrate that as perfectly as we did. Well done, gentlemen. Well done, all three.
All right, now let's get to the next segment here.
The nicest man.
All right, well, we always got to follow the good with the bad. Unless we start with the bad, then we follow with the good. But starting with Ron this time, who's your nicest man?
Oh, man, I feel like there was a number of ways that you could go in this game. But I think an easy one, at least for me, man, I'm going to have to go with Montez Sweat. I know he got the forced fumble. I don't discredit that. It's a big play and a big moment. But in a game where it's kind of a revenge game for him, right? He's a former Washington, D.C. football player. You would think he'd show up and show out. And I think he gets the nicest man nod, though, for sure, for me, because I know there's a lot of people out there that'll say, oh, well, that, roughing the passer was ticky-tack and it was soft and whatever. You know how you avoid that? Just don't be fucking dumb. Get your hands away from the quarterback. You don't have to worry about shit. Like, have discipline, Q. Going back to your point, right? Talk about Darnell Wright and his discipline and his technique on the offensive side of the football. There's an element of discipline on the defensive side of the football that needs to happen too. And I don't think Montez Sweat had it tonight. And I think it was, again, I think this is also some bleed over from the first, 4 games of the season as well, where you're getting paid, what, $24 million a year, $25 million a year to
top 10 edge rush salary. Oh, do we lose you, Ron? All right. Well, I'll pick it up while because Ron's frozen on us. But
I'm
I mean,
back. Sorry,
you're good. Yeah.
internet don't like me tonight. But I just again, 24 million a year to be whelming at best right now, I think deserves you a cute little puppy trophy for our nicest man.
Yeah, that's a name I thought would probably come up. I think Sweat is like there are multiple candidates today that had good moments and bad moments when you came to watching this game today. And Sweat was the first one. He was on my list as well. It's just one of those where again that he made a huge positive play for us, but you also saw Jaden go for 52 yards rushing as well. It's just like you want to see more pressure on Jaden. I felt like he had a lot of time to throw, and when you pay a guy that much money, this is the type of game that you know how much this game means to you after last year. And like you said, with the extra incentives, that's what should have had for this game. I don't doubt. I agree with your pick, Ron.
Ron, I'm curious your thoughts on this because I struggle with this, and because I'm like Montez Sweat's overpaid, and like I'll agree with that over and over. I don't think he does like his production level his whole career outside of his contract year, which came down to a lot of backup quarterbacks and backup offensive tackles that got him paid. Well, I mean, his production got him paid, but his production came against backup quarterbacks and backup offensive tackles largely. His production otherwise, it's been fine. Like, he's a solid starter to a good starter, probably a good starter, I'd even say. But, like, he's never been that instant pressure guy. And I'm curious your thoughts on, like, with the way that Dennis Allen runs his defensive line. And it's like, it's not built on creating quick pressure unless you're blitzing. It's more built on our front four needs to control the point and needs to, the more and more I'm watching it, the more I'm thinking it is geared towards Dennis Allen saying, we think we think they're going to target this portion of the field. So we're going to flood coverage over here, but we need the defensive line to take away these throwing windows over here to make this work. Otherwise we're a liability. And I think that he does a good job of some of that. So I'm just curious your thoughts on how you evaluate that, because the scheme is weird. Like from a pure pressure standpoint, it's not your standard defense.
I agree. I think it is weird, and it's hard unless you're in the room to fully know what these guys are being asked to do. I don't discredit that. I think for me, though, it's more so in the sense of, especially like in the run game, we know Montez Sweat is a very good run stopping defensive end. Like that's one of the things that I think got him paid, truthfully, right? Like in a league where running the football gets more and more creative by the year, you need freak athletes up front that can make big plays in the run game. That takes a lot of pressure off your linebackers, who in today's day and age are getting smaller and smaller and are less dependent in the run game, especially as those big thumpers. So I think just even the lack of production there, I think is what kind of hurts too. And it's in those moments where he can use his athleticism to potentially win or make a play, and it doesn't happen. I think that concerns me. If he's being asked to do, exactly what you said, right? Taking away a throwing window or whatever, yes, then do it. But when, Daniels gets outside the pocket, when the running back is, scraping down the line of scrimmage on a pitch, whatever, it's those moments that I want to see Montez Sweat make a difference in the play to then justify his $25 million a year contract. I think that's more so where I'm going with my disappointment. Okay. Not necessarily discrediting what the D line's being asked to do, because I agree. You look at Dennis Allen defensive lines, and there's maybe one guy that has a respectable sack year. Most of the time, though, it's kind of everybody's kind of got average numbers, and it's like 11 and 12 guys that have like 2+.
Yeah.
But it's in those moments where he could use his athleticism to win on a play, whether it's pass or run. I feel like that we just haven't seen, and that's the part that I'm trying to extract from, because he is a very athletic player. He was a first-round draft pick. He was the 16th overall or 18th overall pick in the NFL draft when he was taken. Like, teams see the athleticism that's there in this guy as a defensive end. You just wish you get a little more of it because you've seen it on tape. You know it's there.
Yeah, and I think it's a very good answer and all valid points. And I'm not trying to sit here and defend it or be like that's a bad choice. I'm just trying to get in your brain a little because I know you have a well thought out kind of answer for that. It's something I've been struggling to answer myself of how do I value this? Like how do I look at this the right way? Because there's so many factors in my mind that not in my mind in my mind, there are a lot of factors at play on each play for them as to how you're evaluating it. But I mean, I think that's a good answer for tonight's game, though. And we'll go on to Sonny. Who is your nicest man in this game?
So I'm going to be curious to see your guys' feedback when you actually watch the film, because a lot of times things don't jump out at film unless it's something really egregious. And I'm looking at his box score today, and he had a pretty solid game. Nine tackles, 4 solo tackles, 5 assists today. But TJ Edwards, I know he's been gone for a month, but I feel like at least on 2 or 3 plays, I saw him take awful angles. Now, I don't know if it's his fault, if he just couldn't move or shift fast enough to get Jaden Daniels, but at least 2 of those Jaden Daniels longer runs were simply because Edwards took the wrong angle on that. And so for me, that really jumped out at me because you're talking about otherwise ending those drives, but those were extended by the Daniels' legs. And so I just remember noting that, Edwards again. But again, I'm not the guy. He's missed a month, right? So I don't know how healthy he is necessarily.
His legs should be fresh.
Hopefully, but they weren't today.
I mean, he was on my list of choices. TJ does not. He lost a step last year. We saw it. He lost a step. The Bears decided to extend him regardless, and we've seen whenever he's on the field this year, in my opinion, he has lost that step, and that shit, an angle that would have worked for him 3 years ago doesn't work for him anymore. And that's a learning process for him. He does a lot of really good stuff for you from the mental aspect of the game, he wears the green dot. He gets the whole defense lined up. That stuff is invaluable. But from a pure tackling angle, from a coverage window, ability to find certain throwing windows and get in them, I thought he's been lacking in every game that he's played this year. So I'm with you. I think that's a good choice. So that leaves me to pick on the guy who shouldn't be starting, who is, and Nahshon Wright did some good stuff today at moments, but he had a handful of penalties that hurt. He had a coverage bust that allowed a deep touchdown on a well-designed play. That still doesn't excuse it. It was a pretty rough bust. If I can't help but wonder if the Bears had a Terrell Smith out there, or not even thinking about Jalen Johnson, but what if they had a Jalen Jones maybe out there who it seems to be mysteriously still not playing, what this score might have looked like without that coverage bust, if they could have, held that to 3 or, the Commanders were able to move the ball on them all night. But aside from that one, it did feel like the Bears consistently kind of found answers somewhere in a drive, and like Ron put it, the bend don't break kind of thing until they decide, okay, we're breaking them here. And then that's when they kind of found an answer. I'm not sure if, when your only major play that you gave up is that one big bust to Nahshon, to Nahshon's side, he has to be the nicest guy for me, as much as I hate to pick on a guy who I don't think should be starting in this league.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad answer either, Q, because when we talked about how much Dennis Allen's defense relies on good coverage, right? And Kyler Gordon being back helps, right? You get to match up Jaquan Brisker in different ways, and we got to see some of that tonight. There were positives on that front, but you need a lot out of Nahshon Wright. And in fairness too, it's not like he was matched up against Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, right? Chris Moore, not a bad player. He's been around the NFL for a little while now, but he's a depth receiver. And
well, I think Moore was Gordon was on Moore for the touchdown. I was talking the McCaffrey one.
But even McCaffrey, right? What does this game look like for Wright if it's McLaurin or Brown that he's seeing all night? I think that's the point I'm trying to say. He had a rough night to begin with, and that's against the 3 and 4 and 5 receivers of the Commanders, not the 1s and 2s per se.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't trying to be a jerk about it. Just wanted to clarify for any listeners out there who might have been saying, "Well, that wasn't Moore. That was on Gordon." So I decided to become the YouTube commenter on that one. But let's move on to our keys to the game here.
Keys to victory.
All right, so every week on our game preview, which typically is on Tuesdays, we will talk through the keys to the Bears winning their next game. And then we'll put them out in an article over at ontapsportsnet.com. You can check it out over there. But in our post-game show, we always want to review them and see, how did the Bears do in these areas? Do we think that they were, rightful keys to victory for the Bears in this game? So the first one that we had, and these were me and Samir Patel, one of our writers over at OnTap Sportsnet.
Shout out Samir.
Shout out to Samir. We made these keys, so typically I'd toss them to whoever came up with it. But since Samir's not here, we'll just collectively answer them. But the first one was to win before the snap, and this was Caleb Williams diagnosing, and it also meant avoiding the self-inflicted wounds of pre-snap penalties. So, starting with Ron, how do you think they did in this one tonight?
I mean, I think they did well, right? There weren't really a lot of pre-snap penalties. It was a lot of post-snap stuff that was being called. And I think, too, I mean, Caleb, did the Bears turn the football over in this game? I don't believe they did.
No.
To me, that aligns with, pre-snap diagnoses. I think there was times where they struggled. Maybe the play design wasn't the right call, or the defense just won. Guess what, folks? Not every play always has an answer. Like, the defense can win too. I think there were some instances of that, but I think overall the Bears did a good job because they really never put the ball in harm's way in this one. And I think that does come down to Caleb making the right decisions. Caleb knowing that we're, at the end of the game there, I got to make an easy throw, or I'm just sliding in bounds and we're just keeping this clock moving, right? Little things like that go a long way. And I think they did a good job. They played a largely clean game outside of some egregious penalties that they clearly couldn't control.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they did a pretty good job of this one tonight. Even though I do think there were one or two plays where I think Caleb predetermined, and those ended in near interceptions. But we've never really seen that be an issue for Caleb, so I wouldn't expect it to become a long-term issue now. I think that was more just they thought they had a quick hitter dialed up that would kill the look that they thought they were seeing. And Dan Quinn probably did some good self-scouting to say, okay, well, we're just going to tweak this a little and we're going to catch them. Sonny, do you have something to add there?
Well, I was just going to say, I do think Caleb, there's at least a couple plays there where he just held on to the ball a little too long when he should have just kind of, whether it's throw the ball away. But, when you're talking about just, pre-snap penalties, no, and I didn't even think about that until you just brought up the key. Those were some of your biggest frustrations earlier on in the season. You're talking about the disorganization, but, again, maybe that's another focal point that this Bears coaching staff has had over the past couple of weeks over the bye week on trying to fix, because, well, it was fixed.
Yeah. And then our second key here was to keep Jaden Daniels off the field. That the best way to slow down the Commanders' offense was to keep them on the sideline, and that comes down to the Bears showing growth in their run blocking as the best, because the best way to eat clock is the efficient ground game, and to get that defense a chance to rest, because if you get a lead early, Jaden Daniels is gonna make a run on you, so you need your defense ready to handle that. I'm gonna toss this one to you, Sonny. How do you think they managed this one?
I mean, you got some timely turnovers, obviously that Brisker one in the first, but I mean, Jaden himself was 19 to 26, 211 yards, and he had 52 yards rushing. I don't think by any means he had a bad game, but I think, the Bears were able to take advantage of what mistakes that were there. So I guess I don't think I'd say this was a pass when it comes to keys of the game, but they did just enough.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, a part of this one comes down to time of possession, right? The Bears lost that by 3 minutes. So like I think they did like they got the run game going. That helped a lot. They didn't turn the ball over, give them short fields like that. That helps a lot to keeping them off the field in a sense. And the Bears didn't really have any 3 and outs. So I mean, they might have had 1 or 2, but they really did a good job of avoiding them for the most part. So to me, which is weird to say for a Bears offense, like that you feel like you always have like half the possessions are 3 and outs. So I think they did. I like the way you put that side. They did enough there where like, they still lost the time of possession. And part of that does fall on the defense for giving up drive after drive of giving up yards. But ultimately, I think that they held up well enough there. And then the third one is kind of somewhat similar. It's to contain Jaden Daniels in the run game. And that means the rushers, they need to be on their rushing on their run keys, even on pass plays. They need to be aware of where Jaden Daniels can slip out. The backers in zone coverage need to be ready to step up when Jaden Daniels breaks the pocket and wrap up and make a tackle. And I'm tossing this one to myself. They didn't do a great job of this one tonight, right? Like those were extremely frustrating on like a 3rd and 13, I think it was. Jaden Daniels steps up and like lays 2 different tacklers and then just finds his way through. Now, the saving grace here is on the final drive for the Commanders. They crushed it at this. They stayed in their rush lanes. They said, we are containing this. We are keeping this locked in. And we wrapped up at the end. So like that to me is the saving grace for it. Where like if I'm putting a Wiregrass, it's probably like a C- instead of like a D, because the rest of the game felt like a D to me in this, where it's like they're not wrapping up. They're getting a piece of him, but they're not finishing the tackles.
Yeah, well said. And I think the only thing I would add there, Q, is just there were also instances where Daniels didn't necessarily take off and scramble, but because of his ability to move well in the pocket and that athleticism, I think of that sack that was quickly followed up by Rodriguez converting a 3rd and whatever for a first down on that last drive. And that was some of that continued frustration. So I'm right there with you. I think, at the end of the game, they came through. This was kind of like, all right, well, you got away with it, but I agree with you, Q. I don't think they did a great job with this at all.
All right. You guys have any final thoughts about this game, about the Bears right now, going into next week before we close this thing out?
I mean, my name here says it. Like, I truly believe that this could be a culture-changing type of win. It's one of those where the last few years, we've seen the frustrations that the locker room had. I'm not even talking about the fan base, but the locker room and the lack of faith that those players had in the coaching to make the right decisions at the end of the game to win that game. I think today proved that, no matter the adversity, like no matter how bad things are going, no matter if the ball keeps bouncing the wrong way, as long as you're still in it, you're still in it. And there's a certain piece to that a lot of fan bases in this league don't have. And for a very long time, we haven't had that. But starting to think now, now that we've relaxed a little bit after watching that game, and now that the emotions are gone from, just whether it's stealing that victory or whatever it is, the more I just kind of reflect on it during the show, again, props to Ben Johnson. 2 weeks he got to prepare and try to work on those weaknesses, and they did. These players, when everything was going wrong, did they give up? No. Well, they continued their blocking. They continued making their plays. Caleb Williams didn't have a great game today. He made some really bad throws. And for me, it seemed like, the fact that this is kind of a homecoming type of game, I think he was trying a little bit too hard. But at the same time, despite not having the best of games, he put you in a position to win the game at the end. And when you have a head coach and a coaching staff that can set your players up for victory, and then the players on the field who believe in themselves and the coaching staff to make it happen, that is a culture that we haven't had before. And maybe that's the type of culture we finally have now.
Ron?
Indeed, man. Culture. Ride this high and bring it into next week. You're back home. a very beatable opponent in the New Orleans Saints, a team that Dennis Allen is incredibly familiar with. I'm hopeful that that translates to results on the field come Sunday. But I think Sonny puts it perfectly. These kind of culture wins are new to Bears fans, and I think it feels a little weird. I said it in the pre-show as we were kind of getting ready to fire up for tonight. I'll repeat it again here. There's a lot of fans, including some of our own Untapped Sportsnet Bears contributors, that were ready to write this game off before the clock hit 0. And I think that's totally fair, as you said earlier, Sonny, because that's what we've become accustomed to. And it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But I think it's time that we learn how to sit, lay down, roll over, and fetch, because I think we need to learn some new tricks, because this Bears team is forcing us as fans to do so. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really tough. Good, better, best, men. Good, better, best.
Yeah, and my final thought here before, the Bears are they get, I believe, back home next week for the first time in a while against the New Orleans Saints. Can't be overlooking that, but it's 3 wins in a row. And they did have a 3-game win streak last year, but it felt different. And this streak here feels much more real, much less like last year's felt just artificial in certain ways.
This one's
and
organic.
It's organic, and it Washington's not nobody. This team was in the NFC Championship last year. This is a matchup that is not going to go away. The NFL wants this matchup to matter. Jaden Daniels went number 2 in the same draft as Caleb Williams. Went to the NFC Championship as a rookie. He is one of the stars the league is counting on, and Caleb is going to be the opposite end of that, like the villain to his hero in some ways, or maybe Caleb's the hero and Jaden Daniels is the villain. Either way, the league wants to push this rivalry, and it's going to keep showing up. But this is a team who, was minus 140 to go to the playoffs this year. They're supposed to be good. No Terry McLaurin, boo-hoo. Mike Evans is out. All sorts of star players around the league are out right now. That's football. But you know what? This team is still expected to win games. It's still expected to be good. And the Bears just went into their house in primetime and beat them. Bears were the more physical team tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed. They were hitting dudes. Jalen Daniels felt every hit he took tonight because the Bears were the more physical football team. Bill Krosky-Merritt was taking some serious licks, even if it was 8 yards. He was taking hits. This team was ferocious. This team wanted it. And, man, I'll tell you what, they out-physicaled the Commanders tonight, and that is the biggest takeaway I have. I'm impressed by it, and I'm excited about it.
Hell yeah.
But, gentlemen, that's all we got. Let's get out of here the only way we know how, with a good old bear down.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down, gents.
Bear down.